Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, since a long time there has been no official visit by Julian Assange. Me, Sevim, Deputy Chief of the Left Party Parliamentary Group of Die Linke in the German Parliament, Heike, Deputy Chief of this group, and our new friend John Assange, father of Julian Assange. We've been here to talk to you after our visit. Julian Assange has been isolated the last 8 months in the Ecuadorian embassy, and that's why he was very happy to have visitors and to talk to them, and it was very nice to have such a happy guy in front of us sitting, being happy to have German parliamentarians asking for his health and his security here. Julian Assange's situation is extremely precarious and inhuman, because still 80% of his time he is isolated. So he can just get some visitors from 9:30 in the morning till 5:30 it was, as I can remember correctly. So the most of the time he's still isolated. We wanted to talk with Julian Assange, of course, some political issues in the European Union, and the thing is, Julian Assange can speak, but he cannot talk with us, and or to tell you, he can talk, but he cannot speak on issues. And this is another problem Julian Assange is facing with his political asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy. And it's a very singular problem. I have never seen such a problem and such a case in the world, that someone who is getting political asylum from a different country is not allowed to do his own political opinion on issues, to talk about this. And this is against international law. It has to be stopped. The freedom of expression, the freedom of political opinion is a human right, and it's a part of international law, and everyone has to respect this international law.
Agreed.
The fact that he is another fact is what makes this case very singular is that is no other publisher or editor in the Western world who has been arbitrarily detained. It's just Julian Assange, and it's a shame for us, for the Western countries, for the Western world, who has got this so-called Western values about human rights and all these human rights issues. And that's why we force, of course, and ask and demand that this case has to be solved, that no publisher, no editor, no journalist is detained because of publishing the truth. Making public war crimes is not a crime. And what is a crime is doing or ordering war crimes, but not publishing it and reporting it. The fact that he is arbitrarily detained is not an opinion of those who support him. It is actually opinion of the United Nations. The United Nations said that his detention is against the international law, and it's against the human rights. So therefore, we all say we are, as German parliamentarians, very afraid about these rumors we're getting about the Ecuadorian authorities, the administration, that they want to get rid of Julian Assange, that they want to end his political asylum. We urge the Ecuadorian authorities to still keep this achievement alive, to say that Ecuador was in a time where other Western countries didn't want to stick on the human rights and political asylum for journalists, publishers, and editors, that Ecuador did this. And this was a great achievement. It was a good prestige for Ecuador, and I hope the new authorities in Ecuador, they will still keep this line to protect people from persecution, to protect people from extraterritorial persecution, and to protect them against violations on freedom of speech, freedom of press. And of course, as German parliamentarians, we also are ashamed that the German parliament or the German government still didn't give the political asylum and the protection for Julian Assange or other journalists who are in danger in Europe or in the world. And Heike Hansen, my colleague, will add some points.
Yeah, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Myself also, I would like first of all mention the isolation policy of the Ecuadorian embassy. Myself, I was trying from May on to get a permission to visit Julian Assange. Now it was possible. I waited more than 7 months in order to get this permission. And of course, he is subject of isolation policy. And during this 8 months of total isolation, he was not able to receive visitors, neither getting access to internet or phone calls, mobile phone, and so on. It was full isolation, and this is really violating fundamental rights. The same way that he is suffering from censorship, he is gagged. That means this is a very tough violation of freedom of expression of Julian Assange. He is not able to speak publicly what he wants to say, what he's thinking of, and I think this is really a singular case in still member state of the European Union, Great Britain. Of course, we are also very much concerned that there could be a release, end of this political asylum by the Ecuadorian government, the government of Ecuador, and at the end of this case could be the extradition to the United States. Therefore, we call upon our own government, all European governments, member states of the European Union, that they should prevent any case of extradition to the United States, and we ask for the rejection of the attempt of the US administration that they now try to get US laws settled here in the European Union. That means that they try to censor journalists writing in Europe, and this is, I think this case must be fully rejected by the EU member states. We do have similar cases in Turkey. We are facing similar cases with President Erdogan, who tried to charge German journalists and actors and so on while criticizing President Erdogan. So this is a similar case that the Trump administration tries to persecute in a cross-border way, trying to organize a cross-border persecution of Julian Assange, extraterritorial persecution, and we fully resist this, and we ask our governments also to reject these attempts of the US administration. And we ask for the international community, all supporters of Julian Assange, to show now strong solidarity in order to prevent the extradition to the United States. This is our main goal. We want to see Julian Assange as a free journalist who can keep on with his work as he did before. We have to say thank you to Julian Assange. He is one of the most important whistleblowers, and we ask for international protection for whistleblowers generally and in the special case of Julian Assange. Therefore, we also call upon the United Nations to start a new campaign for protection of whistleblowers. And we will keep on now campaigning for solidarity with Julian Assange in order to see him in a safe country. Thank you very much.
In German, if you don't mind, and we have a lot of German translations.
Oh, okay.
A sort of summary at the end when you said about wanting to be a free journalist and if you missed that, then we're going to do just a quick summary in German.
Okay, in German, okay.
Yes. Okay, in German?
Ja.
No, okay. Also wir setzen uns dafür ein, dass Julian Assange als einer der wichtigsten internationalen Whistleblower und anerkannter Journalist in Freiheit arbeiten kann, dass er seine Arbeit normal durchführen kann. Journalismus ist kein Verbrechen. Er hat dazu beigetragen, dass international viele Kriegsverbrechen bezüglich des Iraks und Afghanistan aufgedeckt wurden. Er hat als Journalist gearbeitet und deshalb setzen wir uns dafür ein, dass er auch in Freiheit weiterarbeiten kann und nicht an die Vereinigten Staaten ausgeliefert wird. Und das fordern wir auch von der Europäischen Union und den Vereinten Nationen, dass sie sicherstellen, es braucht internationalen Schutz für diese Whistleblower, einschließlich Julian Assange.
Ja. Ja, die Situation von Julian Assange ist sehr prekär und sie ist auch inhuman, weil sie verstößt gegen das internationale Recht. Das hat ja auch, haben die Gremien der Vereinten Nationen auch festgestellt, dass die willkürliche Haft und Freiheitsentzug von Julian Assange gegen das internationale Recht ist und forderten seine Freilassung. Wir sind in größter Sorge als Parlamentarier hier angereist, in größter Sorge über die Gesundheit und auch die Sicherheit von Julian Assange. Und wir müssen sagen, wir sind sehr, sehr froh, dass wir über seinen Besuch sehr freudigen Julian Assange getroffen haben, der in den letzten 8 Monaten absolut isoliert worden ist von Ecuador, was auch gegen internationales Recht entspricht. Isoliert ist ein Verstoß gegen internationales Recht. Julian Assange kann aber leider auch als politisch anerkannter Flüchtling keine Meinung äußern und das macht es natürlich schwer und auch prekär, seine Situation. Wir bleiben dabei, das Öffentlichmachen von Kriegsverbrechen ist kein Verbrechen. Julian Assange verdient den Friedensnobelpreis für die mutigen Taten, die er getan hat, statt ein Prozess oder eine extraterritoriale Verfolgung durch die Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika. Und deshalb fordern wir einen sicheren Schutz für Julian Assange und ein sicheres Geleit, damit er in ein Land seiner Wahl ausreisen kann, wo er in Gesundheit und auch in Sicherheit leben kann. Alright?
Another question? Besides being here and contributing to Julian Assange's cause, are there any more sort of practical steps you're able to take to help contribute his release with some guarantees that he's been asking for to safe passage, or some guarantees from the UK officials?
Yeah.
Of course, we wrote already a letter with more than 35 or 40 MPs from national parliaments and the European Parliament addressing the Secretary General of the United Nations and the different national governments in order to find an international solution on the case of Julian Assange. And we will continue to build a network of MPs in the European Union in order to support his court cases in Ecuador, but also here in the European Union in order to protect him. So we will continue on the parliamentarian level, and of course we will campaign publicly.
I mean, I was the first parliamentarian who visited Julian Assange in September 2012. And Julian Assange wasn't meant to be here so long.
Yes.
And we have to get a solution on this case. And this solution must guarantee his health and his security. And that's why we will take another steps. In the last 6 years, we have done some initiatives, but as long as we can see is that the attention and the problematic case is not getting the solution it deserves for a Western country, which is calling so often about the Western values in other parts of the world. So we have to get a solution on this issue.
Well, what do you think the solution is? Who is supposed to take the next step here?
Well, the United Kingdom is actually the one who has to take the steps.
Yes.
And but my problem is that the United Kingdom is taking the false steps, like it was against the United Nations. United Kingdom government tried to appeal the UN decision, and but they lost, and still they are not accepting.
Yes.
And accepting this UN decision, and this has to be stopped. They have to. I mean, it's a member of the United Nations. It's have a seat in the Security Council, and in my point of view, United Kingdom is damned to accept and respect the international law and the international rights of someone who likes Julian Assange. And that's why United Kingdom has to take the measures now to bring it to a solution, which is in the frame of international law and not in the frame of the US administration, who is against international law and against actually the US law. I mean, against the First Amendment. They are taking measures like the protection of journalists and freedom of speech and the freedom of press. So we have to actually protect them from themselves, not to violate their First Amendment.
Would you mind saying something about how you found Julian? You know, his health, his general demeanour.
Sir, maybe.
And perhaps John, would you like to say something as well?
Yes, sure.
I think it's time for this torment of Julian to end rather than constantly increase now that the isolation's been going on for 8 months. And as you could expect, anybody who's isolated from their children and their family, Julian's sister, 2 brothers, mother, suffers and suffers terribly. So it's timely to end this ceaseless, increasing torment of a man who's been charged with nothing at all.
How often have you managed to visit him, John?
I come every Christmas for 2 weeks, and I like to come on his birthday in June, mid-year. Yes.
And how did you find him today then?
Today he's delighted to see the 2 parliamentarians and myself, but that happens rarely, you know.
But his health, and there's been some concern about his health.
Is declining, as you could expect, after 8 years of ceaseless, ongoing stress, court cases, no sunlight, restricted visitation, no telecommunications, no telephone, no friends, only lawyers. That's...
I mean, it's still open question whether he will be able to receive visitors on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, due to the fact that these are, I mean, non-working days, holidays, and in the protocol it is said that visitors are only allowed during working days. So this protocol is quite strict, and it's really still a kind of isolation policy, and it's very much and very closely linked to his status of political asylee. And this concerns us very much, and therefore, of course, we appeal to the government of Ecuador to keep on with his status of political asylum and refer and act according to international law and fundamental human rights. And this is our strong appeal. And concerning the responsibility of the British government, they also do have to act according to international law, and therefore it is said that this is not allowed to extradite political asylum. And he is still acknowledged as political asylum. Therefore we ask for a kind of international solution and the guarantee that he won't be extradited to the United States. This is the most important question we raise here, and we call upon all governments to work into this direction.
Hat sich denn der Herr Assange Ihnen gegenüber geäußert, wie es um seinen Status steht? Fürchtet er jetzt von Ecuador aus der Botschaft rausgeworfen zu werden?
Ja, es gab ja einige Presseberichte über Verhandlungen zwischen der ecuadorianischen Regierung und der US-Regierung über eine mögliche Auslieferung von Julian Assange. Es gab alle möglichen Pressemeldungen zu Deals. Insofern ist es nicht ausgeschlossen und insofern fürchtet er natürlich auch eine mögliche Verhaftung und daran angekoppelt eine Auslieferung an die Vereinigten Staaten.
Könnte das auch unmittelbar bevorstehen oder ist da eine zeitliche Frist?
Über die Zeit ist, glaube ich, nicht. Können wir nicht. Es könnte aber theoretisch sehr schnell passieren. Und deswegen sind wir auch hier, um anzukündigen, dass wir unsere Solidaritätsaktivitäten auch hier vor Ort verstärken werden. Es braucht die internationale Öffentlichkeit für diesen Fall. Und zwar jetzt.
Die Gefahr ist akut. Und insofern ist jetzt auch Solidarität gefragt, nicht nur auf der britischen Ebene, sondern eben auch eine internationale Ebene. Und wir werden auf jeden Fall unseren parlamentarischen Abgeordnetenkollegen in Deutschland, aber auch über Deutschland hinaus, ja, ihnen sagen, dass wir erwarten und uns freuen würden, wenn sie sich dem Fall Julian Assange widmen und hier Solidarität zeigen. What we will do concrete in the next time is also to encourage more parliamentarians in the UK, in Germany, and outside of Germany, in Europe, to come and show solidarity with Julian Assange. And I really want to emphasize on this. The case of Julian Assange is not a case about his person and his character and his personality. It's a case about our approach to the freedom of press, the freedom of speech and freedom of opinion. The Western approach on these issues. Are we allowing editors and publishers to make war crimes and illegal activities of intelligences? Are we allowing them to publish it or not? And this is the point of all these cases called Julian Assange or Chelsea Manning or whatever. And this is why everyone who is a Democrat and believes and protects the freedom of right to speak, to print, or the speech, the freedom of speech, everyone is encouraged to show solidarity with Julian Assange. Showing solidarity with Julian Assange means showing solidarity with our fundamental human rights. And this is where we are going to encourage more parliamentarians to show up in London in the embassy.
I don't know the answer to that question. Very tense question.
Are there any indications he might consider eventually stepping out and just risk it, or is he committed to staying there until he gets those guarantees that we were talking about?
I don't know what he's thinking. I can't speculate.
What have you given him any advice on this case at all?
No, I don't give advice. I'm just here to show support.
So you'd normally visit him on Christmas Day, would you?
We spend Christmas Day for the last
And that, you're
6
saying
years.
that might not happen then this year?
This year it looks tenuous.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
It was not clear yet,
Yes.
but he's
It was
asking
not clear
for.
yet.
Well, they want to come and see their brother. Sister complains all the time. Children complain. They just would like to see their father casually rather than come all the way from Australia.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.